Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Planet X News, August 18th, 2021. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am very, very happy to be back with all of you. I have regained my voice once again. And just to touch base on what happened to me, because I've been getting a ton of emails and a lot of questions about what happened to me. And let me tell you, it was a very, very scary experience, kind of when you're knocking on death's door a little bit. But, last week I had some medical procedures done in my throat. I had an abscess that had formed on my left tonsil. Just literally in about 4 hours, my breathing airway was closing. And I think what happened, and the doctors kind of agreed with me, that afternoon I had some nachos and chili and cheese, like a little small portion from a 7-Eleven. And I do remember at one point in time getting a small piece of the damn tortilla chip stuck in the left corner of my throat. And, I thought I was able to cough it up and, kind of dislodge it. And that was at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. By 9 p.m., I was sitting at my desk, and all of a sudden, I started feeling this sore throat feeling. And it's kind of like that feeling when you get strep throat. If any of you have ever had that, you know how horrible it can be. By 9 o'clock, it was getting pretty bad, and I was having a very hard time swallowing. I went and looked in the mirror, shined a little flashlight down my throat, and I could see that the inside of my throat was very, very red, very, very swollen. And I tried gargling with some salt water. I tried Listerine. I tried some ice cold water, to try to get the swelling to go down. Nothing was working. Took a handful of Tylenol, for the pain, and nothing was working. And throughout the night, let me tell you, I was suffering greatly. First thing in the morning, I went to my local MedExpress office and told them, look, I'm having a very hard time talking and breathing. They took me back immediately. The doctor took one look down my throat, and she immediately called an ambulance. And that scared me. And she came in and she said, look, Scott, you have what seems to be a very large abscess on your left tonsil. We are not an ear, nose, and throat doctors here. We need to get you to the local hospital. We've called you an ambulance. Is there anyone that you want to contact? I said no, but, let's go. So they took me up to the local hospital. And, they looked down my throat also and ran some blood tests, immediately put me on an IV bag and some antibiotics and some steroids. Blood tests came back and everything seemed to be fine. They took some throat cultures, which was kind of painful. That came back negative for strep. And the hospital that I went to, that they took me to, well, they didn't have an ear, nose, and throat, an ENT doctor there either. So what did they do? Stuck me in another ambulance and shuttled me all the way down to Pittsburgh, which is about a 30-minute drive. Once I got there, they have a ear, nose, and throat team of doctors. And they all came in to see me, and they all agreed that this abscess was very serious, and it was actually getting bigger, and it was cutting off my airway. I was having a very, very hard time breathing, even through my nose. So, needle after needle after needle, injection after injection, IV bags, you name it, for hours and hours. They were monitoring me and working on me. And, several hours into this whole entire mess, my heart monitor that they had me on started beeping like crazy, and the nurse came in, and then she called the doctors in. And here, I guess, whatever this infection was, it was putting a heavy stress on my heart. So my blood pressure went sky high. My heart rate was beating between 128 and 134 beats per minute. And I could feel it. I could feel my heart beating out of my chest, which was starting to get pretty damn scary. And the ear, nose, and throat doctor came in, a very young guy, and he said, "Look, Scott, we're going to have to do a couple of procedures over the next 4 hours to, get this under control." He said, you're in some danger here, but don't worry, we're going to take care of you. And it's it's at that point, folks, where, if you're not religious, you become religious, So closed my eyes and, said my little prayer to God. And I'm like, look, God, I'm not ready to leave this planet just yet. I've got way too much to do. So the another ENT doctor came in and shoved a little mobile camera up my nose and down my throat. And, he saw all of the additional swelling, and they started pumping me full of more steroids, more antibiotics, and very little painkiller. They were giving me, I don't even know what it was, but whatever it was, it didn't last very long. It would last about maybe 2 hours. And then the massive amounts of pain would start because the swelling and the infection had moved up towards the hinge of my jaw, which you have a pretty thick nerve right there. So it was pushing out on my jaw. It was causing me inner ear pain, jaw pain, and the swelling had gone far down below the left side front of my neck, underneath my chin. And it looked like I had put on about 20 pounds of fat underneath my chin, And again, they were getting pretty worried about all of that. And they just kept pumping me full of these steroids and these antibiotics. So after about 8 hours, some of the swelling went down, and they were worried about this infection getting into my bloodstream, causing sepsis. And, folks, if you've ever read about sepsis or if you've ever experienced it, it can lead to death. And that's when I really started to get scared. The ENT doctors came in and said, look, we're going to have to put a needle in this abscess, and we're going to have to try and draw out some of that infection. If we can't get enough out, we're going to have to come back in about an hour, and we're going to have to cut it. Possibly even take you in for surgery to have the whole entire tonsil removed. And I'm like, oh, God, this is the last thing that I need. So, they did come back an hour later. Doctor came in with this little medical kit with a needle. And he said, Scott, do you want a painkiller for this? I'm like, no, Doc, give it to me straight. Let's go. Let's rock and roll. So, no painkiller, no nothing. They jacked my jaw open and stuck a little light down there, a little flashlight. And the doctor gently stuck that needle into that abscess, and he was able to draw out one full syringe of, just kind of looked like a watery, bloody liquid. And then they, stuck a suction tube in there, and the doctor was having a hard time, using the needle and the suction tube. So I said, look, Doc, here, give me the suction tube. I'll work the suction tube. You work the needle. So that went well. And that actually alleviated some of the pain and swelling. And another hour went by. The doctor came back. This time he had, some new tools, which involved a pair of those little surgical scissors and a scalpel and a tongue depressor. And I'm like, oh boy, this one's not going to look good. So he said, I'm going to have to go in there and I'm going to have to either use the scalpel to lance that open, or I'm going to have to use these scissors. I'm going to try the scissors first. And I said, okay, doc, let's go. Let's do it, man. And he goes, well, look, do you want a shot of this numbing medication? I'm like, nope, don't, it doesn't matter. Just go. Let's do it, man. So once again, no painkiller. He goes in there, one little snip, and then I just got this horrible, nasty, disgusting taste in my mouth. And once again, they were using that suction tube to suck this material out. And he said, look, do you mind doing this for the next hour? And I said, no, not a problem. So, for the next hour, I was using that evacuation suction tube. And he told me to push up underneath my jaw with my thumb to kind of push out more of this infection. And I did just that. And, that hurt pretty bad. And then, third hour went by, and the head ENT doctor came in. And he said, look, Scott, we're going to have to do this one more time. This time we're going to be kind of unconventional. He goes, I'm going to lift up underneath your jawbone with my fingers, and the other doctor is going to put his finger in your mouth, and he is going to push down, and we're going to try to get as much of that infection out of you as possible. And I said, well, let's do it. Let's rock and roll, baby. And boy, I'll tell you, that little Indian doctor with them little bony fingers of his, boy, he was able to get his fingers up under the side of my left jaw, and he was pushing up into the gland area and at the same time pulling outward on my jaw. And the other doctor had his finger in my mouth, and he was pushing down, and they were choking the shit out of me. And then finally I felt this huge relief, this real hot feeling go all the way through my jaw and my whole face and the whole left side of my head. And he said, look, we're going to, give you something to help you relax for the next couple of hours. We'll evaluate you then, and you'll probably go home today. So, I don't know. I don't even know how many hours went by. It was like already into the next day. I didn't even know what time it was. And they came in, they woke me up and, re-examined me. And they said, everything looks pretty good. You're probably going to have a considerable amount of pain for about a week. Probably won't be able to talk. Definitely not going to be able to eat any solid foods. Blah, 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 blah. And they sent me home with a gigantic bottle of a real high-powered, high-strength antibiotic. I had to take 3 of them per day, 3 times a day. So these little capsules, I was having a hard time getting those down. I mean, folks, I couldn't even get water down. I could barely get Jell-O down. So, over the course of those couple of days, it was all working out. And then, all of a sudden, I found myself in the middle of the night in such severe pain and swelling starting to accumulate again in my throat. I'm like, what the is going on? So at 3 o'clock in the morning, I panicked, drove myself all the way into downtown Pittsburgh at 3 o'clock in the morning, right to the university hospital, ran in the emergency room, told them what the deal was. They took me straight back, and my doctor just happened to be standing right there. Recognized me, rushed right over, said, Scott, what's going on? I told him. I had all my medical paperwork there, and he said, oh boy, he said, they forgot to give you a prescription for the pain medication and the steroid medication when they released you. He said, that's why all of this is happening. He said, the pain medication has worn off, the steroid has worn off, and the swelling is all back. I'll get you fixed up, get you out of here within the next 4 to 8 hours. Well, there you go. another 8 hours in the hospital, and they did get everything under control, and they did cut me loose, and I drove home, and I felt a lot better, but just couldn't swallow, and couldn't talk either. It was just mumbling. And over the course of the last several days, finishing up the medications, I've been feeling pretty good. Going to have to go back to the doctor sometime next week for a pretty good checkup. But yes, it was very scary, very, very painful. And a lot of you guys had mentioned, oh, that's what you get for smoking. Well, yeah, it didn't have anything to do with smoking, but probably that damn tortilla chip getting stuck in my throat, that piece of it, and probably created a bacterial infection, because they did check, had nothing to do with a viral infection of any kind, and that's probably what it was. So the dreaded nacho almost took me out. But I'm doing pretty good now. I'm able to eat some solid foods. One good thing, I lost 12 pounds in 3 days. I don't know how. I guess just not eating for almost 4 days, and only being able to eat Jell-O and water and soup broth for just about a week after that. So that was a good thing, because I'd already gone back to the gym, and I was trying to get myself back in shape, and it was working out pretty good. But I wanted to lose 10 pounds, and bingo, there you go. Lost 12 pounds, gained 2 of it back, but I've been doing pretty good. There's certain foods that I really can't swallow just yet. Bread, definitely having a hard time swallowing any kind of bread. So, I made some homemade chicken soup, probably about the last 4 days in a row. And that's what I've been eating, and it's been pretty good, and keeping my weight down. I'm down to an even 200 pounds, which was perfect weight for me. But anyways, folks, a lot of you have been asking about Dr. Albers and how she's doing, and that's a whole nother story. Let me get a sip of my coffee here. Man, I love my Cuban coffee in the morning. But anyways, Dr. Albers finished up all of the chelation therapy quite some time ago. And, once again, I'd like to thank all of you that helped out by contributing and donating your own hard-earned money in order to help us get this mercury poisoning thing under control. And now that is over, I guess I'll just put it straight out there. Dr. Albers isn't herself anymore. It's a little hard to talk about, but she is not what you folks will remember her from her videos, going back through 2016, 17, and 18. The doctors seem that there's no possibility of any type of recovery as far as the damage that's been done to her nervous system. So we'll just have to see what time provides us. She's still suffering terribly with this acute fatigue disorder. It's been terrible. And a couple weeks ago, she started noticing some blood in her stool when she would go to the bathroom. Not to be so gross, but the doctors did warn us that there were possibilities of other ailments that might just pop up. Organs that may have been damaged from the mercury poisoning. It can affect your brain, nervous system, organs, kidneys, adrenal glands, you name it. And then out of nowhere, bingo, here it comes. And, Dr. Albers is a hardcore vegan. And, she doesn't eat any kind of junk food, nothing like that. Straight vegetables, rice, beans, And she started getting scared, told me about what was happening. The unfortunate thing is, Dr. Albers is still going through her immigration process. And because of all of these things that have been happening in the political arena, things are changing in the immigration laws. And the waiting period, it's just insane. And on top of that, it costs tens of thousands of dollars if you're not crossing the border illegally. And, you can't get medical insurance. You're not a ward of the state like some of these other people that just, cross the border and, they're given paychecks and money and insurance. Yeah. Pisses me off. But anyways, that's where we're at now. So, I was able to afford to take her to the doctor, and upon an examination of her belly, her gut, and just a physical examination, and some of the symptoms that she was showing, the doctor thinks that there's a high possibility that she may have developed colitis, or there's something going on that's causing this bleeding. And, once again, the medical community, they divert you to a specialist. Well, if you don't have health insurance, they just won't see you, You go to the emergency room, but if you're not in dire, pain and death, they're not going to do nothing for you either. So, once again, we're at a situation where, I can't afford these tests that she's going to have some type of a CAT scan with some kind of radiated dye. She's going to have to go see this specialist. Office visit, minimum $275. The pain that she's going through now in her abdomen is just horrible. There's points in the day where the pain's so bad in her gut that she has a hard time walking. And also pain in her lower back, which may be her kidneys. So, it is what it is. Great people, fantastic, beautiful mind, intelligent. Somebody that could have been an asset to this country. Can't even get her medical insurance. I joked with her the other day. I said, maybe I should drive you to Mexico, drop you off in Tijuana, and maybe you could make your way over the border and turn yourself into the Border Patrol. And then, we could get you situated here in the United States with immediate citizenship. Then you could get on welfare, you could get a medical card, or you could get medical insurance. And she just kind of laughed, It's kind of heartbreaking, because she's been through so much over her lifespan. The lady has 2 master's degrees, 3 bachelor's degrees. She's co-authored, over a dozen books with me. Dedicated her life to teaching. And I don't know. I don't know, folks. I don't know what is going to happen in the very near future. I know I do have to somehow get her to this specialist and see what the issue could be. It could possibly be something that could be helped with medication. I don't know. And when it comes to people helping me out, I'm not used to that. I never have been. I've always been the giver. So, when all of you folks helped out with the chelation therapies for her, that humbled me. It touched my heart in a deep, deep way. Without all of you, none of that could have happened. And God knows what the damage could have been. It could have been worse. It could have eventually taken her life. It's been tough. Real tough. So I'm, gonna run another little fundraiser, starting today to see, what maybe all of us can band together to do for her. The PayPal link that is in the description box under all of my videos for Planet X News. If any of you feel that you want to, help out, contribute, donate in any way, fashion, please do so. If you can't, that's no problem. Just say a prayer for her. I'm hoping that, this internal bleeding thing that's going on is something minor and something that could be helped out with some medication. But, without the tests, these CAT scans and all this other crap and going to this specialist, and once again, all of these appointments, I got to pay for those out of my pocket, and I can't afford them. I just, I just can't afford it. With all of the finances that I go through on a monthly basis, and, between the demonetization of the Planet X News channel for a whole entire year, all of the censoring that happens to me on Facebook, they've suspended my Facebook page again, which suspends the Planet X News Facebook page, my news Facebook page, and that stops people from visiting my websites and the whole 9 yards. So that just cuts into everything. And it's been tough, man. I'll tell you, this whole last 2 years has been really, really tough. And emotionally, it's been a huge strain. But I've kept it together, and all of you out there in Planet X land, I gotta say, man, you people are freaking awesome. You've been the biggest help that I could ever wish for. So I'm gonna have to attend to this situation with her once again, and never ever liked the idea of asking others for help. But after seeing the outpour over the past year to help this woman really has enlightened me quite a bit and humbled me quite a bit. So we're going to try to get at this and get an appointment for her sometime as early as, well, within the next 7 to 10 days, maybe even earlier than that. It just all depends. So again, if any of you would like to contribute, please do so by hitting that PayPal link and write me a little note. You can put a little note there with your donation or contribution, and let me know. It tells me who you are, and I try to get in there and I try to thank everybody that has helped before. And there were so many of you that helped before, and again, that really touched my heart, and I'll tell you, man, it really touched Dr. Albers' heart too. But anyways, now that we've gotten all of that out of the way, and once again, a big thank you to all of you for all of your support over the years. But folks, if you've noticed over the past week, we've had quite a few of these massive earthquakes, all over a magnitude 7. The latest one that hit dead center in the middle of Haiti was catastrophic. And the death count is still rising. And I don't know, are they going to recover from this one? Hard to say. Volcanic eruptions going off like crazy. Last I heard, there were three volcanic eruptions going off in Alaska, I think it was. So I get a lot of questions about why is this happening? Why is this happening? And if you remember, back in January, I was doing a live stream, and I was on Mark Wage's channel over on Wage's World. And I had mentioned to you folks that over the course of these past 4 or 5 years, I've done a lot of charting as far as noting down earthquake eruptions and volcanic eruptions and the visual captures that we're getting of this Planet X stellar core system. Also, after a couple of years of that, I figured out that it's kind of cyclical. Okay, it's kind of running in cycles. And once again, I told Mark, and I mentioned to all of the viewers, that once we get into August, September, October, November, the Earth is in, naturally, a different position in its orbit around the Sun. And over the course of this last 3 to 4 year period, every August, September, October, November, we see this pretty strong increase in volcanic and earthquake activity. Okay, so cyclical, that defines that cycle. So I think, 4 years of data simply proves it. Then the question is, why? Why is it happening? Well, based on the Earth's orbit, and again, I wish I had some type of animation where I could show this to you guys or create one, but I'm not an animator. But, okay, so the Earth is traveling in its orbit around the Sun. And at the point where we enter into August, the Earth is at this certain point. And it's going to continue in its orbit from August, September, October, and November. Well, during that 4-month period, based on this very fast 28-day orbit of this main Planet X core, so it's orbiting around the Sun in a very acute angle. As the Earth moves around the Sun, during that 4-month period, it is my hypothesis that we are now at our closest point to this object. But it doesn't last forever, okay? It's a very, very fast meeting, but it happens constantly during this 4-month period as we are rotating and orbiting around the sun. The Planet X stellar core is also orbiting around the sun. But during that 4-month period, we are at the closest point where the Earth is being affected by not only the sun's magnetic field, but this Planet X stellar core's magnetic field periodically. Because it's just not sitting there and beaming its energy to the Earth, okay, because it's in orbit. The Earth is moving. This Planet X object is moving very, very quickly. So it's almost like we're getting these pulses of that magnetic field energy during this 4-month period of time. And we kind of get some different views. Now, I went back and I was just double checking on this. And Mark Wages at Wages World, he did some fantastic work on this 2 years ago. And I told him, I said, Mark, don't take my word for it. You go back. You go back through all of the data. And you will see for yourself that I may just be right. And after, weeks of him checking things out, he came back and he says, man, he goes, I tried everything under the sun to disprove this, but I think I proved it. I think you're right. So during this 4-month period, August, September, October, November, we're going to be moving along in our orbit around the sun. We're going to be at the closest proximity to this object temporarily each and every day, each and every week, each and every month going through this period. More stress will be created on the Earth. Now, the Earth, as we all know, it's just a big rock made up of tectonic plates. So any type of other outside interference, other than what is not normal, what comes from our sun, is going to create disturbances. And those disturbances are going to come in the form of massive megaquakes and the forced volcanic eruptions. Why? Because the internal pressure inside of the Earth will heat up. And when that happens, it's going to force the tectonic plate movement and volcanic eruptions. So if you guys want to do your own homework and you want to go back, use the USGS or whatever method you want to use and go back in time and check out the massive earthquakes and look at their dates. August, September, October, November. That 4-month period of time. And this year, because the sun has woken up and we're now in the midst of this solar maximum, well, now the magnetic field of the sun is increasing. The interaction between this object or objects, because today I'm going to show you we've captured 2 of them once again. And this normally happens between August, September, October, and November. And I have the photographs, from the past to prove that. And they're dated on the coronagraphs. And I'm going to go ahead and dig through all of those and put them together. And I'm going to show you guys, once again, that this hypothesis may be pretty spot on. So we're kind of moving into our hot zone over the next 4 months. And we're almost, 2/3 of the way through August. My prediction is September and October are going to be super active, a lot to talk about. We're going to start to see and undergo massive weather changes in both hemispheres. Not just your normal seasons changing. It's going to be brutal. And and this season change coming up is going to be, it's going to be wild. Why? Because things are changing on the sun. The sun now has this other partner out there. And they're in a wild tug of war. And it's going to get worse. And things are going to change on this planet in a very, very rapid way. And I would say in an eye-opening way. For all those people that were asleep, yeah, they're going to be woke. They're going to think that all of this that I talk about and all of the evidence that I've shown all of you over the years, that, they thought it was all just hocus pocus. Well, now some of them are going to become firm believers. Because there is no other explanation. What explanation is there? Climate change? Global warming? Man did it. Man didn't do any of it. The scale of that is off the charts. Earth is too big. The sun is too big. And man is just this little teeny tiny little organism running around on this big blue marble out in space. Come on, scientists. You know what's out there. Just don't want to admit it. But anyways, real quick, a lot of you were asking me about this this photograph that Mr. MBB333 captured on the Hubble telescope. And I did watch his video, and I got to say, whatever the hell that is, it's pretty damn weird. And it looks much, much closer to the Hubble Space Telescope camera. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to examine the photographs. I'm going to get some screenshots, and we're going to put them through our program, and we're going to see what renders. It could be some type of anomaly, or it could be some type of a solid object. Who knows? But, give me a couple of days to try and figure that out. And I'm going to shoot an email to Mr. MBB and let him know I'm going to take a look at it. And whatever I find, I'll email him the results. He could maybe talk about it on his channel if he wants to. And I'll see what I come up with. But let's get into what I've captured on the 15th. So let's go ahead and let's jump out of here. And we're just going to roll straight up here. And right off the bat, I was going through some cactus CME eruptions. And on the 15th of August, a bingo. Here we go. So there are periods of time that we are able to capture more than one of these cores. It doesn't happen all year long. It only happens kind of in this period that we're at now, August, September, October. I don't think I've ever caught them in November together. And this object here is obviously much closer to the snapshot. And this object is further back, way back. That's why it looks smaller. And whenever I initially saw the data on this, I said to myself, oh boy, here we go. And then I remembered the month. We're in August. We are in a different position orbiting around the sun on Earth. So therefore, we're going to get a different view somewhat. And then bingo, we got it. And the next series of photographs, we'll just go through them. Cactus is a little blurry because the resolution is very, very low. Nothing I could do about that. We try our best to, get that resolution as high as possible. But anyways, so you can see, naturally, this object that, I have my cursor on, much closer to the camera. This one, further back. So we'll just zoom in a little bit more. And again, I apologize that it's slightly blurry. Nothing I could do, but even slightly blurry, no pixelization, and right there in your face, and some pretty good detail, even considering that it's a little blurry. So this is the object that was on the left side, right there. How big it is, I don't know. It's much further back behind the sun, almost impossible to judge. This is the object that is closer to the camera and on the right side of the sun. And again, nearly impossible to distinguish its size. But we know it's there. We know it's there. So I was able to, run these through this program a couple of times. And on the third time that it rendered the photograph, we were trying to turn the sharpness to get a little bit of a better view. And sure enough, it came out a little bit darker. And folks, it's a very sophisticated program. This is nothing that you could buy on some website or Staples or Office Depot or Office Max. This is something that's used in law enforcement, not available to the public. And again, I'm not going to go into too much about it, but I do have help when it comes to this, and I'm not going to go any further than that. So once again, a little more crisper, a little darker. We could see the defined object here and here. Let's go closer. Let's just skip over these and just go straight close into it. Okay, yeah, it did make it a little more crisp. And I want you to pay close attention to that kind of football-shaped mark right there on this large object. Because whenever we go into this other 3D type method, I'm going to show you these photographs. This mark right here is going to pop out at you. And it's pretty weird. So here it is close up. And it's kind of like a perfect football shape. I thought maybe it was a reflection of light, but I may have been wrong. So here's the smaller object up close, kind of dark and mysterious looking. Now, check this out. Now this is kind of an embossed 3D look. Okay? Let's take a look over here at this smaller object. So we could zoom in. And we can definitely see that it is a true spherical object in the photograph. It's got a very weird indentation right there. What could possibly be a massive crater of some kind. Who knows? Oops. So now we get into this object, the big one over here that's closer to the camera. And let's zoom in. So could this be a large elevation with a shadow? Could it be an indentation? Or could it be another like large asteroid type object flying by at the same time? It could be anything. I was a little confused by all of this. And then we went ahead and inverted everything. And now things get a little more weird. So let's go ahead and increase the zoom. So again, once again, we can see perfectly spherical object right there in your face. But now that area looks like a very high elevation of some kind. We're only shooting at the wind here, folks. We don't have any solid answers to why that's looking like that. But then we go over here and we look at this monster. Well, now things get really interesting. Because whatever the hell that is, obviously is high enough to cast a shadow right there, absorb light from the sun over here. And you could see whatever it is some type of an elevation. Or is it? We could only hypothesize here, But it's super interesting. Just when you think that you have all of the answers, you figure out, okay, I've done it. I've proved it all. We know it all. But in fact, you know nothing. We're only scratching the surface. So now the story broadens. What is it? How could that be? Pretty damn weird. And you wonder, how is it that these objects, or, probably just one of them, the main core, that probably has the most strength as far as a magnetic field dispersion to affect the sun? You just keep looking at that photograph. You just keep looking at that. I think that we have only scratched the tip of the iceberg. And I think that we are only in the beginning phases of some very, very serious earth changes that we are going to live through based on our current ages. Because, if you're not going to pass away within the next 10 to 15 years, God forbid, then you are going to live through all of this. You are going to see, live, and experience all of these changes. Every bit of it. Some of it may affect your life directly. Some of it may not. But just think, if it's not affecting you, there is and are other human beings on this planet that it is affecting in a very, very bad and horrible way. I think we are only in the beginning. That's a little scary. But I'm not here to fearmonger. I'm here to tell you the truth. So at least you have the knowledge. At least you know what to expect, what might be out there, and what changes may be coming. Remember, power is knowledge. Knowledge is power. And we see each and every day that they want to remove that knowledge and that power from each and every one of you. Very interesting find that I've come up with here once again. Not tooting my own horn, but this is some really interesting stuff. I'm going to go ahead and jump off of here, folks. Got a lot of work to do today. I want to thank all of you for all of your fantastic, beautiful, and kind comments that dealt with my little mishap in the hospital. I greatly appreciate all of those kind words. And when it comes to Dr. Albers, once again, if any of you would like to help out and contribute, it would be a big help. I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. You could use the PayPal link that's in the description box under each and every one of these videos. And again, if you do make a donation or a contribution, there's a little box that allows you to leave some notes, and if you'd like to type a little something in there, that would make me happy to, hear from all of you that do make a donation, that do help out. And I am hoping and praying each and every day that this latest bout with her health is something that could be possibly controlled with, a medication. And it's not going to put her life in danger, because I think she's been through enough over the past 2 years. And I'm just hoping and wishing each day that it just comes to an end, and that she could be comfortable and live her life, relaxed and not going through all of this, But anyways, folks, listen, share this video. Make sure that you are subscribed to the Planet X News channel. Sometimes subscriptions fall off, and you guys don't see the videos. So make an attempt at least once a week to physically take yourself to YouTube and take yourself to the Planet X News channel to see if there have been any new updated videos. What I'm planning on doing soon, very, very soon, is I'd like to try to do a daily live stream for about an hour and go over some space weather, what's happening with our volcanoes and these earthquakes, because I think, and again, over this next 4-month period, there is going to be a lot to talk about. So anyways, folks, stay tuned, hit that like button, make sure that you are subscribed, and I will see all of you as soon as possible. Make sure you stay tuned to Planet X News. Thanks, folks. Take care. Be safe out there.